Hello. Hello, YouTube. Hello, people. I'm on a little bit early tonight, and we've still got some people gathering in the room, so I will hang out here with you. Chat in if you're here. Want to say hello and let me know who you are. I'm going to sip my tea, do a little product placement. Not that that's really going to be worth anything. With my tens of viewers.
Hey, the rest of the world is missing out, man.
I'm talking about attachment tonight, and I'm attached. How easy is it to make tea at home? But there's just something about the way, and I do like a little tea latte, something about the way they do it for me. I feel pampered and attached. I wouldn't go so far as to say addicted, but a little bit attached, you know? Welcome, welcome. Hello. Hi, Marla. Hello. Of course, yeah. Good to see you too, Marla. I'm feeling good about our tech now. We are now hardwired into the internet here. So, and with my friend Musa here and his good luck and positive tech wave vibe, I think we're good. Yeah. Oh, someone, yeah, Annie's, we one of the three Annies in the room tonight. Thanks for coming out on this cold night. Wouldn't it be nice to have a little fire here in the room? I mean, a controlled one. Well, I have a funny joke with the staff about like I try and keep a firm boundary around work-life balance and like evening and weekend communication. So I say like, only call me if the building's on fire. Otherwise, we'll deal with it Monday. It's a hard thing for us in this day and age, you know.
Well, and when you make something as wonderful as yoga your career,
I know it seeps in,
yeah.
and that's
a very generous thing to do.
Yeah. Well, or crazy. Hello. Sit wherever you like, and just full disclosure, we've made a casual agreement that because I'm live streaming that I'm not wearing my mask. But if you're uncomfortable with that, I will put it on.
You are totally fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just get comfy. We'll get started in just a moment. So glad you're here. Yeah, take whatever you like. Congrats. Yeah, do it all now. All right, let's settle in. Let's get started. Welcome, your first time here. Good to see everybody. Good to see you. So we'll start with about a 10-minute quiet sit. And whatever you need for support, gather that up. Be really, really generous with yourself. Pamper yourself in terms of getting comfortable. Step 1, feel grounded. So connect the dots between the base of your seat, or if you're lying down, which is perfectly appropriate, the whatever surface of you is touching whatever surface is holding you. And root into that, snuggle in. Feel a downward trajectory of energy that is like an anchor. Drop in. Maybe you can conjure up a notion of when that anchor hits ground, that you feel the corresponding rebound upward of support and steady energy. And from there, notice your breathing. We understand that the moment we put attention on something, it will change. Physics, anybody? And so rather than controlling the way that changes the breath, just notice, just watch, and maybe even watch in wonder and amazement the way the breath will slow when we notice it. And this is one way of really celebrating and making friends with present moment awareness, to know that we can immediately reap the benefits from it. Step 1, be grounded. Step 2, notice your breath. And then step 3, ride the inevitable waves of your mind and watch those waves come ashore over and over and over again. Every opportunity, every moment that you have to pay attention. There will be wanderings. Your mind will step out. Welcome it back. Note where it went, name it, and begin again. Feel the ground. Notice the breath. If you become physically uncomfortable at any point, I'm a fan of the school of thinking that says, fix it, change it, scratch the itch if you need to. Switch your leg cross if that helps. Lie down if you're sitting up, sit up if you're lying down. Do what you need. There are no rules other than the ones that we agree to. And then begin again. Feel the ground. Watch your breath. And welcome in your thoughts back to presence. Welcome in the next few breaths. Perhaps lengthen them a bit. And then take the next breath a little bit deeper, a little bit longer, a little bit more vigorously, welcoming your mind back to your current physical surroundings. Feel into your body and maybe stretch or breathe or awaken some part. And we'll have a little exploration into the concept of attachment and how it can lead us down paths of suffering that are avoidable to a certain extent. Now, we know that the Buddha's famous words of the Four Noble Truths, the first truth being that life equates to suffering. We don't live a human life without having some pain, physical, emotional, spiritual. And that's a given. But what's not a given is that suffering persists and and repeats and perpetuates itself over and over, because so frequently when the suffering is present, it is of a repetitive nature derived from a common source that rears up inside of us over and over until we're really willing and supported enough and able enough to grapple with it. And in the yoga tradition, we have 5 noted causes of that repetitive, insidious suffering that are worthy of our attention for exploration and perhaps for healing. And the first 2, dealing with how we experience ourselves relative to our perceptions of the world around us and our relationships and our identity of self and our roles in serving that identity. And then the third one is the one that I'm going to talk about tonight, which is the idea of attachment. It's that we assign relative value to our beingness with hard drawn conditional parameters. And the harder we establish those parameters around our relative value and conditionality of being worth anything, then the more we snuff out this luminous essence of who we really are at our core beings, in our hearts. Who we were when we entered this body as a human being in this particular lifetime, a free and joyous and light-filled infant. If we were lucky enough, we were cradled in our mother's arms. Not everyone has had that luck. And so the need for attachment can start pretty early in a lifetime. These hard drawn parameters about, like, I'm only worth something if this situation goes this way and that situation goes the other way, and this person says this to me and that other person thinks this of me, then we are conditioning a grasping nature. And that grasping nature is the nature of attachment that is a hard place to live. One thing that I want to dispense with right away is the mythology that attachment equals love. Because immediately we think like of the people who are closest and most meaningful to us in our lives and say, well, I'm attached. I mean, I am absolutely attached to my partner and my kids and my closest friends and my family, my siblings and my nieces and nephews and my like all. Yes, I'm attached to those people, but that's not the sort of attachment we're talking about. That's love, and they are 2 different things. So when we love and cherish another being, we are showing up continuously with generosity, with attention, and also with an open willingness to receive those things back unconditionally also. Those are the healthy attachments that are necessary for our survival. We need each other desperately. That's not being attached. That's being human. But it's when the love turns that conditional corner and the value of that person and our own perceived value relies on circumstances that are bound to change. If someone has time for me today, they might not have time for me tomorrow. And if they don't have time for me tomorrow, and all of a sudden I ascribe their the quantity of love that they have for me based on the amount of time that they are available to spend listening to my heart and soul get poured out, then that's not love anymore. When that's us deriving our worth from fleeting arrangements that nobody can guarantee. The sort of pain-causing attachment that we're talking about is the kind of thing where instead of showing up for the game and playing it because we love it and it's our passion, and it's where we get into the zone where we can really focus our thoughts. Instead, it's the I have to win. I have to be better than everybody else. And the quiet / not so quiet, not at all secret solution to that is that the way you win is to stop caring about if you won, to let go of the attachment. Because the more in the zone we are, the better we get at anything we do because we've poured our attention to it. We have a couple of musicians in the room, and I think they know what I'm talking about when you get into a zone of practice and become one with the music and not care so much about the way it sounds to others. That's when it's most beautiful, when it's most resonant. Tell me if I'm wrong. The kind of attachment that we're talking about, that the pain-causing kind, is when you get dressed in the morning and you choose clothes based on what you think other people will approve of, rather than putting something on that makes you feel bright and creative and fully yourself. The kind of attachment that is pain-causing inevitably is entering into a conversation with somebody and turning it into a compliment fishing expedition. Because if you're looking for some reply or some perfect thing that they will say back to you that will make you feel worthwhile, they're not going to say it right. They're not going to say it the way you want to hear it. They might not say it at all. And they could very well be also fishing for your compliment. And then that's a no-win conversation. As opposed to entering a conversation, entering an interaction with somebody based on a willingness to be open, to see their hearts and to listen with your own, to see through the layers that could be colored in this moment by attachment on their end, and to see the human, precious, firstborn, light-filled infant inside, that we all still are. We are still that firstborn, light-filled infant. We've just got layers of years on us, layers of painful experience. Maybe you've seen the Bernie Sanders memes where it starts out with him, I am asking once again, and then fill in the blank. So I saw one recently, I am asking once again for your reassurance that you love me. And, that gets tiresome when you're on the receiving end of that ask. And it also is painful when you're on the asking end of that question and you don't get the answer you want. And I am here to tell you with absolute guarantee that when we stop looking for that answer, that's when it shows up. That's when we get the reassurance we need. Because that's when we're most lovable, maybe. I mean, we're always lovable. Everybody is lovable. But isn't it easier to love someone when they're not constantly grasping at us to prove it? So to move from a graspy attachment, graspment into freedom, we got to recognize that we already have what we need. And by that, I don't mean that we have always historically had what we need. Most of us don't. We wouldn't be here listening to this or caring about it if we always had everything we needed. We are fallible humans. We have not given each other everything. So not historically, and not necessarily tomorrow or the future will we have everything we need, but right now, in this tiny speck of time, relative to the whole expanse of universal time, in this speck of a moment, if we can take the next breath and rein in our mind, we have what we need to feel free. It won't last because we have to keep on recognizing that over and over and over. And think about what the word means, recognize, if you break it down to recognate, to understand again. In the space of just one speck of time, to understand again and again and again. I have what I need right now. I have what I need to recognize my pain. I have what I need to mourn my losses. I have what I need to shed a tear if that's what I need to do. I have what I need to curl up in a ball, pull the covers over my head and take a moment for myself. I have what I need to take the next breath and take the next step. I have what I need to breathe some conscious space into myself. And I think a good place to approach a sort of a meditation of this nature is to start with an awareness of the heart. So let's do another short sit now with that in mind. So get comfortable again. If you want to lie down, if you've been sitting, do that. If you want to sit up, if you've been lying down, do that. Do what you need. Don't be attached to the appearance of a formal meditation. Nobody cares. And once you've established, again, the sense of ground underneath you, feel the full presence of your body rising up from that support, even if you're not seated upright. There's a fullness to you that is animated by the rebounding ground coming up through you. And tune in again to your breath. Feel its natural rise and fall. And allow it to shift and change as you bring awareness to it. Be interested in the nature of that shift and change. And then as mind and breath merge, watch with curiosity where they take you next. Can they take you into your heart? That same luminous heart center that was formed and arrived as you were formed and arrived in this life. And imagine that in your very own heart, Therein lies all the ingredients that you need for love and generosity and ease that could possibly be experienced. Can you detect some sweet presence? Watch as the mind does its stepping out thing that it does. Invite it back in forgivingly, wisely. And with awareness back in the heart center, ask this place in your heart for support and imagine it welling up from inside. As if there's an extra set of arms to hold you, to validate you, to remind you of your value and worth in the world. Awareness in this heart center, ask your heart for acceptance and imagine it welling up from the inside. Ask this wise heart beingness for patience and time. And imagine it is welling up from inside. Take a few more slightly deeper, perhaps more intentional breaths. Bring yourself back into the realm of the body and the immediate surroundings. I mentioned music earlier in the talk, and it brings to mind another meaning of the word in Sanskrit for attachment. The word is raga, R-A-G-A, raga. Well, that word also is used in classical Indian music, and it is a sort of melodious scale, and it's usually about 8 bars long, and it gets repeated over and over and over as a way of lulling the listener into like a musically induced trance. Raga also means color or passion. And the word passion has its Latin roots in the same word that means to suffer. Right? So classical Indian music is not a place to go and suffer. It's actually beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to listen to, but and it lulls us into a trance. And in a musical sense, it's a beautiful place to be because we can get really fully present and mindful in that trance. But in life circumstances, this trance of raga, of attachment, is not a trance of safety by any means, because all it does is breeds desire. And desire digs a bottomless well inside of us that can never be filled. Because the more we get of the thing that we think is going to make us whole, the less it satisfies us. And I think that our experiences now, what we're understanding about our engagement with social media is bearing that out. That scrolling trance. And I fall victim to it as much as anybody else does. And I recognize it and it's like, what? It's been an hour? Where I think I've been entertained and enlightened and maybe gotten some information, and I bought this sweater as a result of it. So, in small doses, that's great. But when you're gone into a trance and an hour or two has flown out the window, it's time to start paying attention to, what am I looking for? What's going to be that one last thing that's going to satisfy? So it's like we're subcontracting out our deepest yearnings for love and awakening and states of freedom to a really fleeting and temporal world. That song is going to end. And then what? So then we come back to the heart. And there's so many symptoms of anxious attachment, where like we text somebody and we get impatient for waiting for the response. Constantly wanting that reassurance, being clingy with people, not recognizing our inner natural esteem, not able to spend quality time alone. And it's these are or thinking someone's always mad at you, but not really knowing why. And these are lonely places to be. And nobody has all the answers, but I know that it feels better to pause, to check back into the heart, to feel the breath, to feel the ground, and to just be in the moment. Even if the moment is painful, naming that pain and finding those inner resources for resilience and self-soothing is a step forward into places of freedom. There's a lovely verse from T.S. Eliot from Little Gidding, one of the 4 quartets, really rich material in there. And T.S. Eliot was absolutely informed by Eastern thought and wisdom. He writes, "This is the use of memory for liberation, not less of love, but expanding of love beyond desire, and so liberation from future as well as past, to land us right here, right now." So let's have one final period of quiet contemplation of a light-filled heart, a steady ground, a sweet and reliable breath. We'll take about 5 minutes here. You can be the observer of your own mind and its attachments, its persistent thoughts, often repetitive. It knows what it knows, and it can also know the much larger field of consciousness. Step out into that space. Rejoice in its quiet, eternal, loving presence. Take some last few breaths. Let them deepen a bit. Savor these last few moments of quiet intention and intentional quiet. And then gently, perhaps bring your palms together, or if you're lying down, roll to your side, or however you like to transition from intentional practice into the next moments. And may you find ways to transcend the limiting bonds of attachment and move into spaces of freedom and love. Thank you so much for joining.